Uncle Ray pays your father in cash every month, and your family doesn't ask. Humboldt County in 1971 is what's left after the timber money walked out the door. Ray's property runs 40 acres up a fire road that doesn't appear on county maps. At 12, you help carry water up the slope and realize this isn't a regular farm. The plants smell nothing like the garden your mother keeps behind the house. Ray lays out 3 rules: no flying, no fast driving, no looking like you know. He says, if you ever hear a helicopter, walk away slow and never look up at it. By 15, you're running irrigation to 4 plots. By 16, doing it alone. Ray teaches you to read soil texture with your hands before you buy a pH meter. By 17, you can trim 6 hours straight without your scissor hand going stiff. A county sheriff's cruiser rolls past the fire road turnoff twice in one afternoon. At 19, Ray stops checking your work. That's his way of saying you passed. You keep a mental map of every trail, every plot, every sight line. No paper copy. Ray's back gives out in the spring of 1993. He doesn't make it up the hill again. He slides a coffee can across the table. Inside, a hand-drawn map and a brass key. He says, the land doesn't owe you anything. It'll grow for whoever does the work. You spend the first week alone on the property just trying to keep your hands busy. 3 of Ray's old plots still have root crowns in the ground. You start there. You carry 100 seedlings up the trail in 2 loads. Both trips alone. You push the first seed into the soil and stay on your knees for a long time. You wake up in April knowing the season starts today and Ray isn't coming to check. The first real problem shows up 2 weeks in. White powder on the lower fan leaves. You don't call Ray. You drive to the farm supply store in Fortuna and ask nobody. You find the answer in a library book on commercial horticulture, section on mold. You spray every plant by hand over 3 days. Your back is ruined by day 2. The mildew recedes. The plants don't die. You learn something that week about luck. In late July, a hiker appears on the ridge above the lower plot. You go completely still. The hiker takes a photo of the valley and keeps walking. You don't breathe for a minute. Harvest starts in September. You cut the first plant yourself, alone in morning fog. The drying takes 3 weeks. You hang branches from the barn rafters in long rows. You trim alone for 11 days. Your fingers go numb by hour 4 every time. You wrap the product in cellophane and put it in a duffel bag in the truck bed. Carl is a man in his 50s who smells like cigarettes and pays from a shoebox. He weighs it twice with a kitchen scale, then names a number without looking up. You negotiate. You get $200 more per pound than his opening number. Carl counts out $18,000 in banded hundreds and slides it across. You drive home on the back roads with the cash in the glove box, hands perfectly still. You put $18,000 in a coffee can and hide it under the farmhouse floorboards. You've never been more terrified in your life. You've also never felt more certain. Next spring, you'll plant more. You already know this. You knew it in September. By 1997, you're running 6 plots, and your operation fits inside 3 duffel bags. The trimming scissors, Fiskars, spring-loaded, $90 from a Sacramento store. You buy 2 pairs at different stores in different counties, always in cash. The pH meter, $22. It's the most important tool you own. Bad pH means a bad crop. A bad crop means a bad season. It's that simple. The burner phone, prepaid, $20 from a Eureka bodega, replaced each month. You never call Carl from a phone you've used before. Ray taught you that in 1985. The police scanner, a Radio Shack handheld, programmed to county and state frequencies. You buy it at a pawn shop in Eureka and pay $11 over the asking price. It crackles twice that first summer, both times, activity in the next county over. The hand-drawn map, 6 plots, 3 water lines, 1 access trail, 0 paper copies. You burn the master copy in April and keep only the version that lives in your head. The drying shed, built over one winter from scrap lumber and salvaged tin roofing. You frame it in March, roof it in April, and run power from the barn by June. The first cop car you see on your road after building the shed drives you straight to panic. It keeps going. A routine patrol. Your heart takes 20 minutes to come back down. You start driving to check the road every morning before going up to the plots. By 1998, the operation is invisible from every road, every trail, and every air angle. You've built something that can't be found unless someone already knows where to look. That's the first time you think you might actually be safe. That's also your mistake. In August 1998, you hear the rotors from the upper plot and your whole body goes cold. It passes north. Camp. Campaign against marijuana planting. Federal helicopter program. You walk away slow and don't look up. That's what Ray taught you back in 1983. They hit Delaney's property 3 miles north. It's on the Eureka News that night. Delaney loses 47 plants in his truck and gets a federal charge. He's 51. You know Delaney. He was sloppy. You tell yourself that's why it was him and not you. The second helicopter comes in early September, directly over the upper slope. You are 30 feet from the main plot when it passes. You do not move for 11 minutes. When the sound fades north, you stand up and make a decision in about 4 seconds. You spend that night cutting 80% of the crop and burying it in the ravine. You dig with a spade in the dark for 3 hours. Your hands blister on the handle. By dawn, you've buried 40 pounds of near-harvest plant. You drive home and sleep 2 hours. 3 days later, the helicopter comes back. It doesn't slow over your property. You save 20% of the crop. It brings in $4,000. That's the year. You calculate what 40 pounds at market price would have been. You do it twice. $22,000 buried in the ravine below the lower plot. Decomposing. That winter you don't sleep right. You wake at every sound and lie stiff till dawn. You start checking the scanner 3 times a day, morning, noon, 10 at night. Ray said paranoia is just pattern recognition without enough sleep. He was right. You saved most of it, but the season cost you more than money. You haven't slept right since. Carl calls in the spring of 2001. He says he wants to introduce you to someone. You meet the man at a truck stop off 101 near Willits. His name is Dennis. Dennis moves product to L.A. and Portland. He has buyers in both cities. Different game. He names a price per pound. It's 30% more than Carl has ever paid you. You drive home on 101 and pull over twice to think. Then you call Dennis back. That fall you move 3 times your usual volume. The payout is just over $40,000. $40,000 in a coffee can under the floor won't fit. You buy a second can. In 2002, Dennis asks if you can scale up. You do the math on a napkin. The answer is yes. You hire 2 men from the county, Marcus and a quiet one called Beto. Cash only. Marcus is local, knows the land, doesn't ask questions. Beto works without stopping. You explain the rules once. Never talk about location. Never bring a phone to the plots. Now you're not just a grower. You manage 2 other people's knowledge of your operation. The first payout that changes your standard of living comes in October 2003. $80,000. You sit with it on the table and don't know what to look at. You buy a used truck, not new, you're not stupid, and pay for your mother's roof. Your mother doesn't ask where the roof money came from. You don't tell her. That's fine. You realize you can't go back to small. The scale of it has locked the exit door. Dennis pays on delivery, always in banded currency, always in the same truck stop parking lot. By 2005, you're moving product through one channel and it works exactly as long as it does. You have $80,000 in cash and no bank that will take it without asking questions. In spring 2005, Marcus gets picked up on a DUI with a suspended license. It escalates. The charge becomes a possession charge when they search the truck. Small amount, but still. Marcus doesn't give anything up. He takes the public defender and goes quiet. You pay the lawyer, a real one, not the public defender. It costs $4,000. Marcus gets probation and a fine. The lawyer was worth every dollar of that $4,000. But now you've paid Marcus's legal bill. That's a different kind of relationship than wages. You pay for his family's rent for 3 months while he's on probation and can't work. Marcus's wife has 2 kids. You've never met them. Now you're paying their grocery bill. This is called obligation. In the world you live in, obligation is another word for leverage. Beto has been with you 3 seasons and never asked a question you didn't want answered. By 2007, the operation is serious. 6 plots, 2 workers, and a debt network you didn't plan. You're paying wages, legal fees, family support, and equipment costs before you see a dollar. The money is still good, but now the money has names attached to it. That changes things. You drive by Ray's old property in 2007. Someone else's mail in the box. House dark. You think about calling Ray. He's in Reading now, his daughter's place. You don't call. His rules were for a smaller operation. You've grown past the size his rules assumed. You're not running a garden anymore. You're running something that doesn't have a clean name. Marcus asks for a raise in October. You give it to him. You don't have a choice anymore. The crew knows where the plots are. They know the drying shed and the barn. They know enough. That's the problem. That's always been the problem since 2002. In March 2008, you hear that a federal task force is working the county. You don't know who. You don't know the name of the task force. You don't know who's on it. That's the problem. A contact in Ukiah who's been moving product for 8 years goes silent in April. You call the number for 2 weeks. By the 3rd week, you accept he's not picking up. Carl stops returning calls in May. 3 weeks of silence before you stop trying. Carl has been your buyer since 1995, 13 years. And now, the phone just rings. You tell yourself Carl is sick. You tell yourself a lot of things that summer. In August, you decide to shut down for 1 full season. No harvest, no movement, nothing. You spend September and October cutting and destroying a full season's worth of crop. It takes 30 hours of work over 3 weeks to eliminate all physical evidence. You dismantle the drying shed in November. It takes 2 days. You burn the lumber. Marcus and Beto go unpaid for the season. You give them half wages as a retainer to stay quiet. In January 2009, you learn that Carl cooperated with federal investigators. He talked. Carl's in his 60s. He had a federal charge and a sick wife. You don't blame him. But Carl knew your face. Carl knew your land. Carl knew your volume. That's what matters now. You spend 2009 waiting. No income. You live off the coffee cans under the floor. No one contacts you. No warrant. No knock on the door. The year passes and nothing happens. 2010. You plan again. Smaller. Only 3 plots. Marcus and Beto come back. You're not indicted, but you spent a year taking apart everything you built. Nothing feels solid the way it did. You keep waiting for the knock that doesn't come. In November 2016, California passes Prop 64, legal recreational cannabis. You think, finally. You spend the winter reading the licensing requirements. They are not what you expected. The application asks for cultivation history going back 10 years. You close the laptop. The first-year licensing fee is $78,000 for paperwork, for permission. You've been paying for the right to operate since 1995. This is a different kind of payment. By 2017, licensed growers flood the California market. Wholesale prices start falling hard. You call Dennis in the spring of 2018. He says his buyers are switching to licensed supply. Dennis says, sorry, it's just economics. You say, understood. You hang up. That's Dennis. You find 2 buyers in 2019. Both want to pay below what it costs to grow and harvest. You take the better of the 2 offers. The math still doesn't work. You grow anyway. In 2020, a corporate grow opens 2 valleys east. 400 employees, marketing team. Their billboard goes up on Route 36. A logo, a tagline, a QR code, 96 square feet. You drive past it every Tuesday. You stop reading it after the 3rd week. You cut your price in 2021 to stay competitive. Then you cut it again in late spring. The season barely covers labor. Not the equipment, not the seed stock, just labor. You applied for the license in 2019. They denied it in 2020. You knew they would. There's no exit ramp. There was one. It was $78,000 of forms. Legalization built a legal market. It built no room for growers who were already there. Marcus left in 2020. Beto stayed 1 more season, then went to work at the corporate grow. You plant the 2022 season alone and know before September that it won't cover the winter. In April 2023, you plant 1 more season. You're not sure why. Your hands know what to do. The seedlings go in the 2nd week of April. Same as always. The soil still takes them. You run irrigation alone. 1 plot, 30 plants, 2 lines. 4 hours of work. Your back has been bad since 2018. By noon, you take ibuprofen and keep going. Summer passes the way it always has. Heat, humidity, checking pH, watching for mold. You don't use the scanner anymore. There's no one left worth listening for. Harvest comes in September. You cut by hand over 5 days, same as the first time. The drying takes 3 weeks in the barn. No shed now. You rebuilt nothing after 2008. Trim takes 9 days. Your scissor hand cramps at hour 3 now instead of hour 6. You call 4 buyers. 2 don't answer. 1 offers a number that's an insult. 1 doesn't. The buyer you find is named Gary. He drives up from Santa Rosa in a hybrid. He's 30. Gary weighs it, names a price below your break-even, and asks if you can do it again next year. You sell at a loss. The check covers the debt from 2008 you've been carrying 15 years. You drive to Redding to pay the last of what you owed from the season you didn't grow. The man you pay doesn't say thank you. He counts it, nods, and closes the door. You drive back on Route 36. You stop at the corporate billboard and just look at it. In February 2024, you walk the property for the last time. It takes about an hour. The 6 plots Ray taught you are still there in the shape of the land. Nothing marks them now. You leave the valley at 53 with less than you had at 24. The soil doesn't care. Next spring it will grow something for whoever comes next.